The story that I want to focus on from Parshas Lech Lecha are the events of what's called the Brit Bein HaBitarim, the covenant of the cut animal pieces. And the Torah tells us that this was a very seminal moment in the covenantal relationship between God and the descendants of Avraham Avinu. In that Avraham, after Hashem told Avraham that Yodoa Teda, that I want you to know that your children will be as numerous as the stars in the sky, and you will be my special chosen people, and I will give you this land that you are living on. This land of Israel shall belong to you, this land of Canaan. So Avram turns to God in Perek Tesvav, and this is in source number 1. He says, Vayomar Hashem Elokim bamo eda ki irashena. God, please give me a sign. How do I know that I will inherit this land? Which is a strange question to ask in the first place, but really what Avram was asking for was a covenantal commitment on God's behalf. Because when you make a covenant, it becomes irrevocable despite the unworthiness of the partner. And really that's what our sages tell us that Avram was worried about. I have no problem believing you, Hashem, that I'm worthy of inheriting the land, but I'm going to be gone, and my children and my children's children are going to be coming after me, and they may not be as righteous as I am. And how therefore will I know that this land is irrevocably mine and that the covenant is irrevocable? And God says, okay, fine, let's make a covenant. Let's make an oath to make sure that this is something that will never be supplanted or replaced. So Hashem tells him in Pasuk Tes, Vayomer Elav Kechali Egla Mishuleshet, Ve'ez Mishuleshet Va'ayil Mishulash V'tor V'gozal. I want you to take for me a fatted calf. The word Mishuleshet usually means it's the third of its, from the womb, which means it's the healthiest. Take for me a healthy goat, take for me a healthy ram, and take for me a tor and a gozal, which are two types of birds. One's a dove, one's a turtle dove, or a pigeon. And then Avram does as Hashem instructs. Vayikach lo et kol eile, vayivater otam batavech, vayitein ish bitro likrat re'ehu ve'et hatzipor lo vatar. So Avram does as God instructs him, and it seems like Avraham then slaughters the animals. It's not really clear exactly all of the different details, but Avram divides each animal carcass in half and puts them in 2 rows that are parallel to each other. So you've got a half of a calf on one side and the half of the calf on the other side, and the same thing with the goat, same thing with the rams. But ve'etatzipor lo vatar, but the birds, either bird or birds, it's not really clear, he did not divide. And then the Torah tells us something very curious. Vayered ha'ayit al hapigarim vayashev otam Avram. That a vulture, an ayit is a bird of prey, so usually translated as a vulture. It could be a hawk, it could be a falcon, it could be an eagle, any kind of bird of prey that sees fresh meat and wants to come down to swoop and eat it, comes down from the sky, and what does Avram have to do? He shoos away the vulture. And then God goes into the covenant. Vayihi hashemesh lavo b'tardema nafla Avram. The sun was setting, and a great slumber falls upon Avram. V'hinei ema chashecha gedola nofelet alav. And this great dark fright befalls him. In other words, some kind of awesome prophetic experience in slumber falls upon Avram. And that's where God tells him, Vayomer le'Avram yodoa teda, you shall surely know that your children will be strangers in a strange land, and they will be enslaved for 400 years, and then they will go and be judged. The oppressor will be judged, and your descendants will leave with great wealth. And all of the great promises. And then the Torah describes how when the sun finally sets, that there was this great smoke and fire that passes between the cut pieces, either in reality or in Avraham's dream. It's also not clear from the psukim. And that was the establishment of the covenant with Avraham, known as the Bris Bein HaBisarim, the covenant between the animal parts. That's why it's called the Bitarim, the 2 halves, because Avram severed each carcass in half, And this divinity, this divine essence passes between, sort of to create that contract with Avram Avinu, who's there at the moment as well. Now there's a lot of mystery in this, the way that the covenant is made between Hashem and Avram. But probably the most bizarre narrative of the story is the buzzard or the vulture that comes down from the sky, swoops down, and has to be chased away by Avram Avinu. What is the significance of that event, that seemingly meaningless sort of distraction of the event to the story? As a matter of fact, I come from Hollywood. If we were filming this and a bird came down from the sky, so we would just say, cut tape, get rid of the buzzard, okay, action, right? And let's just cut out the buzzard from the story. That's a distraction from the story. That doesn't seem to be a relevant part of the story. That's something that you'd want to cut from the film. Why does the Torah make a point of saying that this is part of the necessary narrative of this covenant, that a buzzard came down and Avram had to chase it away so that they could resume their covenant? It seems like an annoyance, if more than anything else. So I want to present to you three different views. I believe actually there are four different views, and there may even be more than that. Because of the mystery of this whole narrative, that's why you have so many different views. I want to go first through two views in the Midrash that are almost diametric opposites. Obviously, the Chazal are going to be viewing the story of the buzzard as a metaphor for something significant in the history of the Jewish people. But what that metaphor is quite interesting, that the different views of different Chazal. So first we have from the Medrash Rabbah. The Medrash Rabbah tells us, is in source number 2, Vayered ha'ayit al ha'pigarim, that the vulture comes down upon the carcasses. Amar Rabbi Asi, Nasav Avraham Mekisha, that Avram took a Mekisha is some kind of hammer or tool, and he starts, get away, like starts trying to hit the vulture with this hammer or this pickaxe that he's got in his hand. A mikisha is something that you break apart clumps of earth with. What do you call that? A pickaxe? Not sure. But it's a tool. It's a tool that a farmer uses, and he starts trying to hit the vulture. And he started to try to hit the bird or the birds, the buzzards, and he missed them. He couldn't catch them. Afal pichein, but nevertheless, vayashev Avram b'teshuvah. But Avram still succeeded in getting rid of the buzzards through teshuvah. Now, what are Chazal communicating to us here? What are Chazal communicating to us? You have a weapon in your hands, and you think you're going to be able to ward off the enemies of the Jewish people who are represented by the buzzards. You think you're going to drive them away with your weapons and your guns and your swords. No, you won't succeed. But how will you succeed? With tshuva. You call out to Hashem and you reform your ways, O Jewish people. Hashem will take care of all of the buzzards that attack the Jewish people. That's what Chazal are trying to communicate over here. That's at least the way the Meforshim understand this passage of the Medrash. And the Medrash therefore continues along in the same vein. Amar Rebbe Azariah, L'cheshiyasu banecha pigarim v'lo gidim va'atzamot zuchutecha omedet lahen. He says, the reason why, if you notice, it's very curious that the Torah calls these carcasses pigarim. Now, a peger is a very sort of derogatory term for a corpse or for a carcass. And what it really implies is that there's no form left in this corpse. It's just like this rotting blob of flesh. And therefore, the reason is because the animal parts, according to the Medrash, are a metaphor for the Jewish people in their future. When they're going to be in a very compromised state sometime in the far-flung future, They will not have gidim va'atzamot. They will not have sinew and bone. They will not have structure and integrity like a regular body has. All they'll be is a peger. All they'll be is just this lumpy corpse without any structure whatsoever. They won't have any internal merit or any internal integrity. But that's okay, because your Zchus Avraham will still protect them. So what you see from this medrash is that this medrash is viewing this narrative of the buzzard coming down, the vulture coming down, as a description of how the Jewish people will survive the Golus in a state of weakness. In a state of weakness. That even though we will become lowly in Golus, and we're not going to be a great people, we won't have that many mitzvahs, we'll have Zchus Avos, we'll have the merits of Avram and Yitzchak and Yaakov to protect us. We certainly won't succeed by waving our weapons against the enemy because they'll be too strong for us. And yet when we do tshuva, Hashem will listen to our tshuva and our prayers, and He will save us in the merit of Avram Avinu. It represents a greatly weakened depiction. I mean, it's a depiction of a greatly weakened Jewish people. Would you not agree? Now let's take a look at Rashi. Rashi quotes another medrash. And Rashi is almost the diametric opposite of the medrash in Medrash Rabbah. Vayashay, first Rashi says, what does it mean that he shooed them away? Lashon nishiva va'afracha, like blowing away or scooting away. Kemo yashev rucha. So Rashi just first tells us what the word vayashev means, based on a pasuk in Tehillim. And then Rashi tells us what the remez is. Ramaz, sheyavo David ben Yishai lechalotam. Ve'ein manichin oto min hashamayim ad sheyavo melech hamashiach. Okay, let's see if we can understand what Rashi means. This is an allusion or a metaphor that at some point King David will come to destroy them, but heaven will not allow him to do so until the Messiah comes. Who would like to venture a guess as to what Rashi is connecting to in this story? Who is the buzzard? Who are the animal parts for Rashi? Remember, in the Medrash, the buzzard are the enemies of the Jewish people. The cut pieces of animal flesh are the Jewish people. And we need the Zechus of Avram to drive away our enemies together with our tshuva. Rashi, totally different metaphor. Who's the buzzard? Someone? Who's the buzzard in Rashi's metaphor? Who's the vulture?
Maybe the enemies of the Jewish people.
No, take a look at Rashi again. Take a look at Rashi again.
Maybe David made.
David. The vulture. The vulture, the bird of prey, is David HaMelech. He's going to swoop down from heaven. And he's going to want to destroy and completely pick apart all of the other nations of the world. These animal parts. But heaven, which is represented by whom? In this Avram, represented by Avram with the tool, he will not allow the great buzzard of King David to be successful in being able to pick apart the corpses of the other nations ad sheyavo melech HaMashiach, until Mashiach comes. Do you see the difference in the two ways? Rashi's quoting a medrash also, by the way. But do you see the difference in the two interpretations? In the Medrash Rabbah interpretation, the Jewish people are depicted as being the weak, cut body parts of the animals on the ground. The buzzard is the enemy of the Jewish people, and we need the protection of Avram, our father, to save us from persecution. In Rashi's version of the Medrash, it's exactly the opposite. The buzzard is the strong army of King David, who will want to swoop down and completely obliterate all the nations of the world because of the great strength that is inherent within the Jewish people. We are a mighty nation, and we could consume the entire world if God would allow us to. But God holds us back. He restrains us. And he drives us away and he says, wait, it's not time yet to wipe out the rest of the world. When Mashiach comes, all the enemies of the Jewish people, you'll have at them, but not now. So which one is it? Which one is it? Rashi was clearly aware of the Medrash. He quotes from Medrash Rabbah all the time. You have to conclude that Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. Both, as we say, are true because they're describing two different epochs in the history of the Jewish people. There's one period of Jewish history when the Jewish people are weak and compromised and lowly with Galus Yidden, and we really do rely on Zuchos Avos, which we invoke at different times in our liturgy. Have mercy upon us in the merit of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, because we are in a very weak and threatened state. But there are other times when the Jewish people are very strong and very capable. And we have to remind ourselves of the inherent strength that is within Klal Yisrael that could literally take out the entire world when the time comes, if God says that it's time. And I believe that we're certainly witnessing that strength today. That the great intellectual strength and the great military strength of the people of Israel is something that is becoming more and more manifest every single day, more and more. And we have to realize, we have to know when to apply the message and when to know which metaphor to apply. One of the most tragic mistakes that a leader of the Jewish people could potentially make is to misapply, is to mix match his metaphors.